everyone, it's Joe here from Burnt Papyrus. I'm here with Phil Buckingham, who's part of Robot Zombie Comics, and he's going to be representing himself at the True Believers Comic Book Festival coming up. And I just thought we'd do a little interview and find out more about some of our fellow exhibitors at the True Believers Festival. Now, Phil, you're part of with Robot Zombie Comics. You're doing Rented to the Dead, is that right?
That's right, yeah, yeah.
And you've just released the third issue of Rented to the Dead, is that right?
Yeah, it came out November time last year.
What is Rented to the Dead in sort of a
Um,
long or as short as you like explanation?
but it's I suppose I sort of tout it as a sort of Shaun of the Dead type zombie comedy kind of thing. I mean, that's the first thing people sort of go to if you say zombies and comedy. So I usually sort of say in the same vein as Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland, those sorts of things. Um, it's set in a video shop in Kent, which draws a lot of inspiration to where I used to work. We always used to sort of joke that the store that we worked in would actually work out as quite a good zombie defence, and kind of sort of snowballed from there, really.
So is that like a rental shop of DVDs and videos?
Yeah, a well-known American formerly very large chain of stores.
I think most people would know which one that is. Yes. So was it something? Was the building particularly well sort of maintained? Well, very secure, or?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it had really sort of heavy shutters and sort of supposedly bulletproof, shatterproof glass and things. We always had lots of. We always said we could probably survive on popcorn for a few weeks. It had a bit huge sort of warehouse as well, and a roof where we could make ourselves visible if we needed to sort of get away. And it was something for some. Obviously working in video shops, you take an interest in a lot of films and things, and obviously zombie films were quite big at the time that I sort of started writing. Well, they were starting to sort of come in the race. Shaun of the Dead, I think, sort of give the genre a bit of a kick, or brought it back to life, so to speak. And sort of went from there. Really, we used to discuss it at length. I mean, this is a shop or a group of stores which were struggling to find customers, so we found ourselves a lot of the time just chatting and talking about ideas we had for sort of comics and movies and stuff. There's a lot of guys that are quite creative that worked for them. We had filmmakers and writers, comic artists, and so on.
So did Shaun of the Dead and watching the movies at that time, was that a lot of the influence for Shaun of the Dead, or?
I think so. I mean, I used to. I mean, The Walking Dead as well. I mean, the comic, not so much the TV show. I mean, I'd stuck with the comic for some time. I actually remember picking up the first issue way back in, was it 2005, I think, something like that. And I started as just as a joke, sort of drawing people I knew as zombies and things. And I used to find it quite enjoyable. And people used to like them. I mean, I still do them at conventions and things. If people will ask, sort of like caricatures, which some guys do, or maybe look like a superhero. I draw people as zombies, and I think it sort of stemmed from there. I mean, obviously, Shaun of the Dead gave me the kind of zombie comedy sort of angle because I didn't really like the idea of putting situations or people that some of the characters are based on in a really sort of serious zombie sort of situation. So I wanted it to be quite comical and very kind of pick on people's sort of sarcastic natures and things like that. I mean, one of the characters is quite heavily based on some of the parts of myself. There's a situation in the first issue which I actually dealt with as speaking to a customer kind of things. So there's a lot of things which I try to draw from life in the comic, but with a sort of comedy kind of spin.
So where did the drawing come from? Was the art style influenced by things like the Walking Dead comics, or were you drawing before that and influenced by other stuff?
I mean, the style is it's a little, I would say, slightly cartoony with a bit of realism. I suppose you could say someone like Becky Cloonan might be used to do something similar. A bit of a manga kind of edge to it, I'd have said, as well as some anime eyes and stuff. It's not. I wouldn't say that was what it was, but I think influence-wise, that would be what influenced the first issue in particular. Yeah. Between issue 2 and 3, my style has sort of evolved slightly, and I like to think that issue 3 is probably the better looking of the 3 books. As for well, I mean, I've been. I went to university. I finished 2002, I think, was when I graduated, and there was a period between there and 2008 where I sort of had a few problems with art and some physical issues. And I recently picked it back up again and I was trying to for a while, trying to get back up to the standard that I was when I finished university. And I think I'm sort of slowly getting there. But
were you studying illustration at university?
Yeah, it was an illustration and animation course at it was called Kent Institute of Art and Design at the time. Mm. It's called UCA now, I believe.
And you've mentioned anime, manga, and obviously you studied some animation. Is that something that is also a big influence? Things like anime, manga, sort of Japanese studios, Japanese manga, that kind of thing.
I wouldn't say directly anymore. I'm much more of a fan of the American sort of style of drawing, sort of Greg Capullo and Mike Mignola and Todd McFarlane, big sort of superhero-y kind of fan, mostly myself. The fact that I'm doing a comic which features those superheroes is actually quite a shock to a lot of people, considering the amount of times I draw Batman. But yeah, I mean, growing up, I used to watch a lot of things like Akira, Ghost in the Shell. Guyver was a favourite of mine. I used to quite like things like, I did quite like. I wouldn't say it was a direct influence on my style, but
there's leanings.
Yes, I suppose.
And obviously, a lot of the resurgence of popular comic book mythos now is due to a lot of the films coming out. Things like all the Marvel films, DC films, and so it's made it very, I suppose, more accessible for a lot of people who perhaps weren't aware as much of comic books. Have you been a fan of the movies? Has that been quite cool to see people getting more and more involved in comic books?
Yeah, really. I mean, particularly the Marvel universe at the moment. I mean, I'm more of a DC fan, so I'm very much, whenever they bring out a DC film, Batman or Superman, if they meddle with the character's history, I'm usually quite, that didn't happen in the comics and so on. Yeah. But with the Marvel films, I think it's made them better films. So, for example, with the new DC cinematic universe, which will be coming out the next couple of years, I'd quite look forward to seeing them make those sort of changes that Marvel have done to make better films, because obviously sometimes things don't work in comic books as well as they would, say, on the big screen.
I heard there's, I think it's Suicide Squad. I think they're thinking of doing as a movie.
Yeah.
And I've heard mention. I'm not a big fan of this person as an actor myself, although I'm aware he's a very good actor, but it's just.
Jared Leto?
Yeah, I was going to say it. Him playing the Joker, how do you feel about that? Do you think that could work? Granted, we've been surprised before because Heath Ledger wasn't exactly the first choice, and then he knocked it out of the park. So
exactly, I think it'd be a very different Joker to Heath Ledger's, and they may stay away completely from that kind of anarchist style that the punk rocker style that Heath Ledger sort of brought to the role. I think they may edge to a more insane, mentally, schizophrenic type character. I'm sure Jared Leto, looking at some of his previous films, could probably pull that off, particularly things like Requiem for a Dream or The Last 1 Million, the Dallas Buyers Club. Sorry, yeah. I think it's the right choice. I don't know. I mean, I think half of it is the look, and half of it is the ability. So I think he's got the ability. It's just whether or not they get the look right. I think again they'll stay away from the Heath Ledger sort of makeup and maybe go a bit more fantastical, perhaps having bleach in his skin or something like they did with the comics. But because I mean, looking at a lot of Jared Leto's films, he's quite comfortable with being disfigured in movies and so on. And so I don't see him having a problem with that. And he's quite a nice, good-looking guy. So I imagine they want to make him look more terrifying as a Joker character. I mean, the casting, I'm okay with it. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people that are a bit uncomfortable with the fact that the Joker's in it at all.
I think
because
a lot
in the comics he doesn't feature. I think he's probably been in one story, I think, and that's in flashbacks. As far as I'm aware, I don't think he's been in any Suicide Squad stories. So yeah.
Have you also seen the Deadpool trailer?
Yes, looks fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one a lot, and I've sort of been speaking to people about it, and they're saying about how there could be a possibility for that being, because obviously in the trailer it's animated, computer animated, and some people are saying that obviously the animated world of various comic books, especially things like the Batman animated series, Batman in the Future, and we had like the Fantastic Four series, Spider-Man, X-Men, so on and so forth. They were very popular, and I think a lot of people are saying that if the Deadpool computer animated film takes off, that could be a future for a lot of comic book properties to get more life.
Yeah. I mean, it's just well, as far as I'm aware, that the trailer was Ryan Reynolds' character was motion capture, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And has it been? I don't know if it's been confirmed that that's going to be the case for the movie.
Don't know yet.
I mean,
I think I'd be happy with it, but I'm big into computer games, so seeing sort of action CG rather than animation or film, it's a very familiar thing to me. So I don't know how mainstream audiences, whether they're going to go, yeah, this is fine to be on cinema and I love it, or whether they'll go, shouldn't this be in our video games? You know, it's just that popular reception is the curious thing.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things like films, watching films like Transformers or that, the recent Turtle film, the amount you can... I'm more of a fan of practical and CG, like things like the first Jurassic Park film, where there was quite a lot of CG, but there's also just as much animatronics.
Yeah.
And I think viewers, regardless of how good the computer animation is, or whoever's working on it, you can always sort of tell, or personally, except for the Lego Movie, you can tell that it's CG and not real sort of thing.
Yeah. When
they start CG and things like car crashes and things, that makes me think, you can sort of tell, a million miles away, or Optimus, I know you can't have a practical, say, Optimus Prime or whatever, but
you do want to turn around and say, just blow up a car, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see the point. CG, it's I'm more of a fan of, I like them both, but they work better together, I think.
Cool. No, that's a nice attitude. I like it. I just want to touch on, I know you've done Thought Bubble, or you've got Thought Bubble coming up?
No, I've done the last two Thought Bubbles. I did, the one in November just gone, and I did the previous year as well.
Are conventions something that you do quite often? Is it something?
I try to do as many as I can. Last year I did the most that I think I've ever done. I think I ended up doing 10 in the end. I mean, like I said, I've only recently tried to sort of got back into or trying to get back into the comics industry with putting my own books out and stuff. So last year I did 10, and the previous year I think I did 4. Year before that I just did a couple of local things. So it's like I'm hoping to try and do at least 10 this year, but it all sort of depends on how I do, because I'm at London Super Comic Con in March, and depending on how well I do there, depends on whether or not I do some more later in the year.
Perfect. And is that mainly that you enjoy doing the commissions for people on the fly, or is it just meeting and greeting fans and the opportunities to obviously let people know that Rented for the Dead is out there and getting the interest that way, or is it like a combination of everything?
I think it's usually a combination of everything. It depends, really. The smaller conventions, it's nice to sort of touch base with people, like-minded people, and show them, this is my comic and stuff. This is my, this is my. I think you tend to sell more comics and original pieces at the smaller conventions, which I think might be the case for True Believers coming up. But the bigger conventions like London Film and Comic Con, Thought Bubble and stuff, you find yourself mixed in sometimes with, Greg Capullo's and Becky Clennan's and stuff. They're all sat around you, so there's people asking you for intellectual property, shall we call it.
So, with the Comic Cons, have you got sort of like your best experience that you've had at the conventions? And
I think there's quite a few, but I think my favourite was last year's Winter London Film and Comic Con. It wasn't particularly busy. I did okay. I broke even and stuff, but I had a girl. She's about 12 years old, I think. So it wouldn't. It's not normally the sort of the audience I would expect to be reading, say, my zombie comic, but she bought my issue 1, the previous Winter London Film and Comic Con, and she'd been desperately trying to get hold of a copy of issue 2. She's with her mum, and it was just really nice. They were like, "Oh, we can't believe you're here. Have you got issue 2?" And all that. And the fact that they sort of sought me out and things was really nice, and that they've remembered it, and it sort of stuck with her sort of thing. So that's probably one of the better moments.
That's adorable. So obviously you mentioned the comic and getting a hold of them. Obviously you can come to conventions and see you and get a hold of the comics. But you've also got a Big Cartel store, haven't you?
That's right, yeah.
And it's robotzombicomics.bigcartel.com.
That's correct, yeah. So I've got issues 1 to 3 available at the moment, and like a trade version of the first 3 issues, sort of all squished together with a couple of extra sort of bonus bits inside which weren't in the original releases.
Perfect. And is there? Are you planning further issues already? Is there sort of have you got in your head a future for the series and where it's going?
Yeah, well, I've got issue 4's sort of been written, and I've just started sort of thumbnailing it recently. I've had a lot of commissions and other bits and pieces to do lately, so it's quite hard to sort of keep on top of the sort of personal projects when you've got commercial things you need to get out. But I'm hoping to get it out in summer, late summer, sort of latest. I mean, the first 3 issues were all funded by Kickstarter, so whether or not I do another one for it, I'm not sure yet. But issue 4 should be out in the summer. I'd have thought.
Okay. Obviously, you've got Facebook and Twitter. So if you are doing another quick Kickstarter, is that the best place for people to hear about it?
I found so. Facebook's not some. My personal page. I don't recall getting too many friends, so to speak, back in it. But my Robot Zombie group page is I got a fair few from Twitter. Was quite helpful as well. I mean, on my Robot Zombie comics page, I could you can pay for it to be sort of sent so that other people who are friends of friends or people that liked your page can also see. So I mean, even if you wanted just an extra sort of 400 or 500 people seeing, say, a small ad or a link or whatever, it's worth £3 or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
So I found quite a lot of people buying the book or backing the book were from other countries. So people from Sweden, Canada, America, Australia. So it's all good. So I suppose I could almost say that I was internationally published.
Well, so if people want to come and see this comic book, obviously you can come to the True Believers Comic Book Festival. Links are all in the description below, not only for the Comic Book Festival, but also for Rented to the Dead. and for the rest of Phil's social medias. I'll put his Facebook, his Skype, sorry, not his Skype, I don't want to give that to the public, but I'll put his Twitter down there as well, and a link to the Big Cartel store. So if you want to buy this for yourself, you can click through on that and receive it in the post, would it be?
Yeah.
Receive it in the
Like
post.
I say, it should be on Comixology as well, so at some point. So
Comixology. And you said you're selling them as hard copies locally as well.
yes, a couple of local comic shops. There's Get Ready Retro in Strood, in Kent, near Rochester. And there's the Grinning Demon, which is in Maidstone, which also has its local mini Comic Con that they have in the week after True Believers. Actually, it's called Demon Con.
Perfect. I'll see if I can put a link in that in the description as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously, if you guys have any further questions for him, please put them into the comments below, and or tweet them directly at Phil, and yeah, we'll try and get some answers in that way as well. Thank you so much for having a chat with us, and obviously look.
That's okay.
And we look forward to seeing you at True Believers, and we'll hang out more then.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.